Report, Private Greta. Quinn ordered. Private Greta, the only one with scouting experience among Quinn's soldiers, saluted. Then she looked at Morgan, hesitation flickering through her. He motioned to the lieutenant. Quinn is your commanding officer. While I, admittedly, am in overall command, that is more along the lines of setting our overarching objective. The private saluted again. Sir. The objective is as intelligence reported. A single tower with a number of support facilities, guarded by automated defenses. I counted 30 droids during observation, with 6 fixed turrets providing full coverage. The entrance to the main structure is heavily reinforced, and will likely require targeted explosives to open. Very good, Private. Fall in. Greta saluted again, joining the rest of the soldiers a little way back. Quinn turned, Veta rubbing her hands together impatiently. Morgan had to admit it was cold, but rubbing armored gloves together wouldn't really help with that. I know I declined to have a look and all, but was it really necessary to have her observe them for an hour? She groused. It's cold here. First-hand information is important in any military operation, Quinn said diplomatically. Personally, I'm worried about the turrets. They'd tear my men apart, and the droids cleared the surrounding area of anything even remotely able to serve as cover. That was a problem. One he had no idea how to solve. Any ideas, Lieutenant? Quinn hesitated, then pointed to the cliff the tower was built in. Me and the men can scale the cliff, rappel down. Private Greta. The private came running, saluting as she arrived. Do the turrets have the capability to aim upwards, more so than standard? She shook her head. Standard issue, sir. Maybe 30 degrees of up-down movement. Quinn waved his hand, the private leaving with a salute. Not enough to catch us, then. When we're low enough to aim at, the buildings will serve as cover. An oversight any competent commander would not have made, leading me to think it was thought of by an intelligence agent. Morgan nodded. A solid plan. Now please explain the idea you had the first time. The lieutenant grimaced. Sith have the capability to move beyond mortal men. Grenades would damage the torrent sufficiently, while the droids would struggle to pin you down. It carries a larger risk, however. Unmentioned was the fact it could have caused offense, sending a Sith to distract and harass. Morgan shook his head. That plan is better. My armor should protect against limited fire, and my speed will make sure it remains so. While I distract, you move in? Quinn nodded, a flash of something indecipherable in his eyes. Just so, my lord. Veta's voice came over the comm, and he could easily imagine the scowl that went with her voice. Don't like this plan. Reminds me too much of another stupid plan involving thrown explosives. This is not that. Morgan defended. Besides, the idea of the cliff is sound. I could scale down, jumping when in range of the turrets. The lieutenant remained silent as they argued, Veta flexing her hands. Fine. I'm reserving the right to tell you I told you so if this goes tits up. Morgan snorted, turning to Quinn. I'll rappel down the mountain, destroy the turrets and distract the droids. Veta can serve on Overwatch, but I'll leave the details to you. The man nodded. Greta's missing her partner, so she can join her easily enough. Specialist or RAS, climbing gear. The specialist ambled over, climbing kit in hand. He thrust it at Morgan. You know how to use this? Quinn scowled at the specialist, but Morgan spoke before the lieutenant could. I do not. I would appreciate a crash course, specialist or RAS. Oras shrugged, laying the gear on the ground. That's the harness, strong enough to carry up to 3 tons. Over there are the spikes. Make sure to wedge them deep, and test them before you put your full weight on them. They'll drill automatically, and it won't make too much noise. Morgan paid attention as Veta ambushed Greta, throwing her arm over the scout's shoulder and whispering conspiracy. It seemed like no time at all before he was climbing his way up the mountain, half a click from the facility in question. It was good climbing weather, according to Oras, and the rock had plenty of crevices. His strength made even an amateur's climb go fast, and he heard Veta's voice over the comm when he was about to wedge another spike. "That's high enough. Go left." Her voice had lost the playful tone she usually had, all business. He was tempted to snark back, but he dutifully started working his way left instead. Best to encourage professionalism when he could. That lasted until he was hanging over the facility, the droids spreading out below him. Don't suppose anyone thought to just drop a big bomb from there. Silence was her answer, until the hesitant voice of Quinn broke it. The main facility is shielded, and every radar this side of the planet would pick it up. We'd have hostile air forces here in minutes. She was joking, Lieutenant. Welcome to hell, as it seems she has decided to patch you into our private channel. Insulted sputtering came over the line, Morgan slowly working his way down the cliff face. The rock became smooth some 50 feet to ground level, probably to prevent this sort of thing. The droids also failed to look up, something he found suspicious. Shouldn't there be cameras pointed at the cliff, at least? He put it out of his mind, checking his rope. He watched, decided he knew nothing of their patrol schedule, and pressed the release. The ground rapidly approached as he dropped, turrets whirling around to fire as he passed some invisible line. Gravity was far too keen on reasserting her dominance, however, and he disappeared behind the buildings just as they tore the smooth rock to shreds. The first turret was easy enough. The grenade did catch on the belt, not quite releasing from its place, but after that hopefully unnoticeable mistake the thing had 2 warped barrels to shoot with. Morgan shrugged and made his way to the second position, his helmet helpfully displaying its exact location. Some droids got in the way, his lightsaber cutting through them without pause, and it occurred to him he still needed to upgrade his weapon. After Veta is done poking at the parts, he promised. No need to have any tracking or some such attached to his weapon. Or a bomb. He'd never hear the end of it if he got blown up twice. 3 droids surprised him when rounding a corner, shooting before he could react. An annoyance, but nothing some healing couldn't fix. His shields disagreed, and his display notified him the 3rd layer stopped the last bolt cold. He hadn't even felt it. The droids didn't manage to shoot again. The second turret went up like the first, and then a droid's torso disappeared. He scowled, opening the comms. "Do you mind not showering me with molten lead? It's an anti-material slug-throwing sniper, so yes, I do mind." Veta responded happily. "And I do ever so recommend not being where you are right now." Morgan sped up, another round cutting a droid in half. It also showered the immediate area with shrapnel, Veta giggling creepily. He destroyed the 3rd turret as he thought of an appropriate rebuke, then frowned. He was slipping into the same mindset that got him blown to shit on Dromund Kaas, that cavalier attitude that came with being stronger than anything else in the room. As the assassin had shown him, strength wasn't everything. Not if you're smart and your opponent is arrogant. His side of the facility was clear of turrets, his suit's microphones picking up the faint sound of approaching boots. He switched to causing damage, cutting through droids as they came running. His knives stayed where they were, as much as they would have sped this up. Vibrating or no, too much metal, a solid chassis, for example, would get them stuck. Then one of the facilities without a door revealed it had an entrance after all, its walls sliding open. Behind which he spied 10 large, mean-looking droids. The kind that stood well over 8 feet, clocking in over a ton. He flung the rest of his explosives into the opening, a flash of inspiration causing him to activate them with telekinesis. 2 of the things were out before they went off, surprisingly not knocking down the walls. He couldn't see the rest, but the 2 that cleared the blast kept him plenty busy. Heavy and strong enough he couldn't topple them. He swung, his lightsaber doing nothing. He hastily stepped back, a fist cutting through the air his face used to be. Not nothing. He corrected. A thin cut. Beskar. Beskar droids on the field. He called through the comms. Beware of more traps. He heard Veta curse, then nothing as she went silent. If his lightsaber did nothing, and he couldn't physically overpower them. He was running out of tricks. He could still dodge, and he did, but that wouldn't help solve the problem. It seemed the grenades had taken care of the ones still inside, at least. The force screamed, Morgan throwing himself to the side as a fucking sword keened through the air, scratching his armor. So not taken care of. He corrected. The 8 other droids climbed out of the dark entrance, focusing on him with eerie precision. He backpedaled, using his lightsaber to turn aside a thrust and kicking off from an extended leg. One that didn't even budge as he jumped, landing on a roof. He wasn't sure which building, exactly, but he had bigger problems. Quinn, focus on the mission. These things seem to want me dead, so we'll use it. The roof shook as the droids joined him, Morgan adding mobility to their strengths. This really was looking rather bleak. He'd also successfully lured them out in the open, one promptly getting blown off the roof. Morgan hissed as it climbed back up, some scratches on its torso the extent of the damage. Sir, we're approaching the tower entrance and will soon have access. Oras and Gillens will set the charges in the mainframe while we clear the building. Good man, Lieutenant. Vetter, keep knocking them down. Morgan turned, letting a fist pass while looking for weak points. None came to immediate attention, and he had to fall backward to avoid another sword. Small mercy, only 2 or 3 could attack at once, their size working against them. Vetter cursed. What the fuck are these things made of? Another went off the roof, but he was rapidly running out of space. Beskar, lightsaber-resistant material. I'm going to have to get off the roof soon. I'll lure them away. Vetter responded after another round, Morgan having to bend so far his armor squeaked in protest. Fuck. Try to keep on open, low ground. I'll do what I can. He jumped off the roof before they could push him off, the hulking things following without hesitation. Help the others. I can keep this up now that I have space, and the sooner it's done the sooner I can leave. More cursing, but no more droids went flying. Morgan smiled grimly, indulging in a moment of self-recrimination. And here he had been feeling all proud for recognizing his own arrogance, walking right into another ambush. Time blurred as he dodged and twisted, clipping his lightsaber to his belt after the first minute. The swords were better dodged than blocked, and his plan of making them stab each other failed on account of the things not letting him. The wildlife came to play when they got to a click from the tower, Wingmore swooping from the sky. Morgan had felt them coming, his knives cutting too with little issue. The 2 corpses dropped to the ground, their brethren screeching madly. His mechanical stalkers ignored them, claws doing little to armored frames. The Wingmore abandoned their hunt soon after, 3 more dead for their effort. Morgan put them out of his mind as they disappeared from his perception, sinking into old patterns. Step. Twist, step. Backstep and jump, clearing space. Avoid the sword, then another step. Careful, controlled stepping was a surprisingly large part of combat. Soft Voice had called it footwork, the pretentious bastard, but it all came down to the same thing. Don't be there when the lightsaber, or sword, comes for your head. Position so you can attack while your opponent cannot. Ensure you have space to move, denying your enemy the same privilege. Sith do not tire, not as others do, but neither did droids. Morgan kept his use of the Force to a minimum, only his enforcement and shields drawing from his reserves. Both were well practiced, so he could keep this up for hours. Not so much without making mistakes, however, and he felt his shoulder bruise as it was clipped. Then a sword took a strip from his armor, a third hunter grabbing for his head. He avoided the last one, not wishing to test his helmet's endurance against their strength. It cost him a kick to the stomach, sending him flying. It's been a while since I've been beaten around like this. He contemplated, twisting so he landed on his feet. Not since Lady Trix. His predicament ended as Quinn's voice came over the comms, sounding none too pleased. Objective secured. Retreating to base along Route 6H. His display mapped it for him, twisting out of the way of another grab. Then he was running, having to swerve as they pelted him with bolts. His lightsaber deflected them with ease, and they didn't carry slug throwers. Small miracles. Or good planning, since they only pulled out blasters when he fled. They had speed of their own, enough he was only just leaving them behind, but they disengaged as he passed the 5-click mark from the tower. Range limit? He wondered. Or recalled? He intersected Quinn and his men after another 20 minutes, making sure the things weren't following at a distance. Morgan came to Private Gillen's being glared at by Veta, who came running over as soon as she saw him. To his surprise, she went for a hug. Or a tackle, but he was fast enough to avoid a head-on collision. Her arms wrapped around his torso and squeezed with strength, Morgan too surprised to properly hug back. His bruises screamed. By the time his mind caught up with what was happening, Veta had jumped back, pretending nothing had happened. The lieutenant saluted, the rest of the men looking various shades of exhausted. He counted all of them, so he'd take tired over dead, except for Gillen's. The ensign shifted nervously, feeling more than a little ashamed. Quinn coughed, interrupting his musings. "Sir, good to see you are alive and well." Untrue, but no need to burden the lieutenant with the knowledge that he was mostly black and blue under his armor. "And you, Lieutenant? You reported mission success." Horace handed him a detonator, Morgan pressing it while rolling his eyes. "Appreciate the gesture, but next time just blow the thing, yes?" The tower failed to go up in smoke, but he did feel a rumble through his feet. Horace grunted. "I hear you. Everyone on the planet with seismic detectors will know we just blew something to hell back there, so best to get some distance." Morgan nodded, tilting his head as Gillen's underwent another fit of shame. "Anything else to report, Lieutenant?" Quinn stiffened. "Ensign Gillen's failed to properly plant the explosives, costing us valuable time. Specialist Horace took over successfully, and overall mission success was not impacted, but I will personally oversee his punishment, sir." Morgan raised an eyebrow, turning to the ensign. The man flinched with fear, but avoided taking a step back. "Sorry, sir. I froze. Won't happen again." "It better not," Veta muttered. Morgan ignored her, turning to Quinn. "I will oversee his punishment personally." The lieutenant underwent a moment of internal indignation and protest, nothing showing on his face. He saluted. "As you say, my lord. You can observe, if you wish," Morgan promised, feeling suddenly exhausted. They walked, Veta joining him at the rear as lookouts. She was mostly silent, humming as she cleaned her rifle. The humming stopped as he stumbled over a stone, only the slightest twitch betraying his lapse of balance. "You all right?" It came over Calms, and he saw it was just the two of them again. He contemplated downplaying it, but he didn't really see a point. She had sounded too idle anyway. Those were Sith killers. Or Jedi killers, I suppose, but designed to kill Force users. Fast, strong and resistant to lightsabers. Too heavy to throw around or push off a cliff, and agile enough to keep up. And these mechanical hunters, each of which must have cost a fortune, were stationed in an out-of-the-way control tower. Doesn't add up. Not what I meant. Morgan sighed. "Fine, yes, they beat me black and blue. I'm working on it." Her step stuttered, her voice a hiss as it came over the comm. "You're injured? Fuck. Tell me, you meathead, so I don't end up making it worse. Goddess, it's like talking to a stone." He didn't know what to do with the protectiveness in her tone, so he shrugged and told her the truth. "I don't care about pain." She whirled on him, and it was easy to imagine her scowl. "That doesn't mean I don't care about your pain, you dense idiot." Morgan stopped, looking at her. He smiled involuntarily. "Oh." Veta turned, doing an admirable job of covering her embarrassment. He enjoyed the view as they walked, steep mountains and snowy peaks near picturesque in their beauty. It was almost enough to make you forget the whole planet was at war. Veta sighed, breaking the mostly comfortable silence. "Gillen's screw-up cost us time. Time you had to spend surviving against droids that all but ignored an anti-material rifle. That can ignore a lightsaber." I know. I'll deal with it back at base. Veta hummed noncommittally, Morgan focusing on getting his bruised organs back under control. It was quiet for half an hour before she spoke again. I told you so. Fuck off. Quinn waved off his men as they came to the Sith's sparring chamber, a large, mostly barren room. Oras hesitated, and he had to send the man a glare. The heavy trooper had, in his own laid-back, aloof way, taken Jillin's under his wing. It was already a miracle the Sith had invited him to observe, however, and he wasn't going to push it. Oras left, leaving just the three of them. Veta had all but peeled the Sith's armor off his frame, taking it and Greta to the armory for repairs. Armor he was fairly sure was obtained illegally, not that he was going to mention it. Laws applied only when another, more powerful, Sith insisted they did. The web of bruises was another thing he ignored, the Sith's shirt not able to hide all of them. Most would be screaming for Kolto, never mind walking around the place. Quinn promised himself to keep interactions with Sith and Jedi, should he ever meet one, to a minimum. His cursed deal with Barras was bad enough already, more than adequately displaying Titans crushed everything around them. And the Sith were that. They conquered and killed, none but the Jedi able to do more than bow in their wake. This Sith was no different, as today had demonstrated. Pulling the file on his new commander hadn't been too hard. A heavily redacted file, of course, but more than he should have access to regardless. But contacts could not be as easily wiped away as his career, no matter how much Moff Broysk would want to, and he had quite a lot of contacts indeed. Some still remember how he had saved the Battle of Druckenwell. Some still remembered he was once being groomed for general. Still remembered their debts, sworn in dark rooms over strong drinks. That file had painted a terrifying picture. One of a rising Sith, crushing everything in his path. Quinn didn't know what to think about it, except that the man was dangerous. Much more so than he pretended. And it scared him. Because why would a Sith, of all people, pretend to be less dangerous than he really is? Now he was a lieutenant, powerless to even grimace as Jillin's nervously stood in the center of the room. The Sith calmly sat on the floor, folding his legs under him. Contrary to what you may be expecting, I am not here to maim, kill, or otherwise inflict pain upon you. Quinn blinked, seeing his own puzzlement reflected in Jillin's. It was the ensign that spoke, hesitation written all over him. Sir? Would it help you avoid things like this in the future, Jillin's? Would pain and punishment make you a better soldier? Neither he nor Quinn spoke, the Sith motioning for the ensign to sit. You went through a highly traumatic event, and soon after was put into another stressful environment. I do not blame you for freezing, but a repeat must be avoided. The Sith closed his eyes, Jillin's flinching back soon after. Quinn resisted the urge to step forward. That, Jillin's, was an empathy link. The Force connects all things, and those that can manipulate it can feel the emotions and memories of others. It is a tool the Jedi use to great effect. Jillin's leaned closer, staring at the Sith's chest. So the pain is yours, not mine. The Sith inclined his head. Indeed. Apologies, this is the first time I'm doing this. Now, I'm actively pushing my thoughts and emotions through the link so that you can feel them. I, as someone capable of manipulating the Force, can feel yours without you needing to do the same. The pain should be gone now. The ensign nodded. Any trace of fear and nervousness was gone from his face, replaced with fascination. Quinn sat down, putting a reasonable distance between himself and the pair. Not that this is in any way reasonable. He thought, feeling the situation swiftly depart from his expectations. Now, think back to what happened in the field. What you felt, what you were thinking. Jillin's leaned back, fear shuttering over his face. The Sith made a calming motion, his eyes still closed. I see you, Jillin's. There is no hiding fear or shame, not now. I will not judge, if that is your concern. You will not drown in it. Tears welled in Jillin's eyes, looking anywhere but at the Sith. I don't. What is this? What are you doing to me? Therapy, Ensign. This is therapy. Why did you freeze? Fear sparked through anger in Gillen's eyes, Quinn not daring to interrupt. If you're in my head, don't you already know? I do. The Sith responded calmly. And now I want you to say it. Why? Gillen's bit back. So you can kick me out of the army? So I can go back to being no one? Alone. The Sith didn't respond, Gillen's anger draining as fast as it came. You don't know what it's like to be afraid. The great Sith. The conquerors without fear. Quinn flinched as the Sith frowned, Gillen's too drained to care. You think I am without fear? That the absence of fear gives you courage? Gillen's rocketed back, his eyes widening. That is fear, Ensign. Primal terror that makes you want to hide and run. To beg and plead. To do anything, promise everything, to make it go away. What? What is this? Quinn frowned, Gillen's eyes darting back and forth to things that weren't there. My death, Ensign. When the Overseer broke me and I accepted that fear didn't rule me. That pain couldn't constrain me. When I became what she wanted me to become. When I accepted the Force. The Sith leaned forward, a frown on his face. It looked strange with closed eyes. Like a blind man's frown. It is a lie to say I am without fear. It is a lie to say I don't feel pain. I do. I feel every ounce of hurt. Every second of terror. The difference, Gillen's, is that I do not let it control me. Not anymore. The Ensign was openly crying, Quinn not blaming him. The presence around the Sith was terrifying from 20 feet away, and Gillen's was almost nose to nose with the man. How? Gillen stuttered. How did you survive that? How could anyone survive that? Most didn't. The Sith responded flatly. They broke into 1,000 little pieces, raped and killed soon after. But you are not Sith, Ensign. You will not be forced to endure that. Now focus. Think on your fear. I will not let you drown. Silence reigned, Quinn's breathing harsh to his own ears. Time passed. 10 minutes, then half an hour. Fear and relief would flutter over Gillen's face, every now and then, before settling back into thoughtful frowns. He had stopped crying somewhere along the way, but Quinn couldn't quite remember when. He had sunk into his own thoughts, only snapping out of it when he focused and saw the Sith sitting directly in front of him. He looked to see Gillen's gone from the room. He left some 15 minutes ago. The Sith informed him. Said he had some things to think about. Or to get shit-faced. Even odds. Quinn smiled briefly before catching himself, standing. Apologies, my lord. I will not keep you. Nonsense. It's been a while since I took the time to properly meditate. Too long, really. He didn't know what to say to that, so he looked to where Gillen's had been sitting. Will he be all right? Morgan opened his eyes, standing in that fluent, alien way of the Sith. I did what I could. No one can decide his future, Lieutenant. No one but him. Quinn nodded, extending his hand before he could think better of it. Thanks. For trying. For giving a shit. He didn't say. He has fought for me. Bled for me. The Sith shook it, his eyes serious. Respect for respect, Lieutenant. Loyalty for loyalty. Excuse me. He was left alone in the room, 100 thoughts whirling around his head. One kept circling back. Quinn had no idea what to think about that Sith anymore. Myrla calmed her nerves as she waited, looking at her datapad again. Morgan was 20 minutes late, and she had other things to do. But he was the only flesh-crafting teacher on the planet, likely the system. She had checked. Not to mention her lord. Informally, of course, lest they bring the Dark Council on their heads. But Astra had sworn an oath, and they had all agreed. Even Lord Zethix. An elegant solution to the problem of Zethix and Morgan's dynamic, as Astra's solutions usually were. One their actual lord, the other his friend and their teacher. The new pups would understand soon enough. Another few months and they would have unlearned their bad habits. Then she could properly instruct them. Teach them about loyalty and respect, unity and the chain of command. Teach them how armies flinched when Sith worked together. The door opened, Morgan striding inside. Apologies, my previous engagement kept me. She stood, shaking her head. None needed. It's an honor to learn from you again, my lord. Morgan grimaced. It's been what, half a year? Stop treating me like a stranger. Mila grinned, only partly as a cover. It's a mark of respect, my lord. Fucking hell's woman. Stop it with this anxiety bullshit. She reprimanded herself. Morgan had taken a seat, scowling at her. Yeah, laugh it up. Shall we get started? Veta might find a way to start a wildfire if I leave her idle too long. Mila schooled her features, taking a seat herself. As you say. Lord Zethix has found some literature on flesh grafting, and it has helped, but it does not mention the solution to my problem. I see. Morgan frowned. Mind if I take a look? She handed over her datapad, her lord setting it down after some minutes. I think I understand. Please try the exercise, so that I can supervise. Mila nodded, focusing inwards. A spike of alarm went through her as Morgan's attention settled on her, its weight strong enough it pricked her skin. He's been getting stronger. She shook her head. Obviously. She deftly manipulated the strands from her heart. One arm was easy enough, as was a second. Adding her leg was where she was running into trouble. It came halfway before stretching no further, pulling on the ones in her arms. Mila gave it another few minutes, concluded no progress was being made, and opened her eyes. Morgan was looking at her intently, his eyes closed. The attention sharpened, forcing her to resist fidgeting, then ebbed. I know the problem, and be assured it is one we all face. I could tell you, but it would be better to see for yourself. Mila nodded, closing her eyes. Focusing like this on another Sith was quite taboo, and usually made them aggressive. She had learned that well with her first batch of recruits. It had been quite the eye-opener, and made her almost glad she had been trained in Project Culling. That she trained under Zethix and Morgan, not some overseer. She had promptly stamped out that nonsense, of course. It was a miracle the Sith still existed, suspicious as they were. His shield was down, but she felt the grooves where they snapped into place. She still felt the echo of strength behind them, ones no weaker than her own. Which was telling, because Morgan had always been weaker than her, relying on his high degree of control. She had no pressing desire to test those shields, thank you very much. Mila focused, feeling his own strands unravel before she could take a look at them. Then he rebuilt them, and she felt a fool for thinking her own work skillful. He went slowly, taking near a minute to reach a hand. Then, to her surprise, the strand turned around. She knew it would be easier to make a second. Take less concentration, consume less power. She got it after the second arm was suffused with power, and snorted when he did a third limb. The circuit completed, beat softly, then settled. She felt the strands blur as they infused the body, until only vague outlines could be felt. Mila opened her eyes to see Morgan look at her. The great secret. I feel foolish for not thinking of it, honestly. She admitted. To her surprise, her lord laughed. So did I. Now try it yourself. We'll see if you can't complete the circuit today. She did. It took her an hour, but she did. It hummed with power, making her feel invigorated. Mila smirked. Can't wait to rub this in the others' faces. Morgan raised his eyebrow at her as she opened her eyes. Mila cleared her throat awkwardly as she realized she had spoken out loud. What I mean, of course, is that this will be a great asset to the others. Especially the new recruits. Her lord hummed in agreement, handing her datapad back to her. I've transcribed a number of lessons on it. It is a powerful art, be careful who you teach it to. He stood, walking to the door. Tell soft voice I'll be in touch soon. I look forward to working with you all again. Leonosis, she blurted. Yes. She mocked herself. Really managed to casually insert that into conversation. Good job. Morgan paused, turning back. Pardon. The Enosis. Our name. She coughed, scrambling. I mean, if you agree. Since when do we have a name? Mila looked away. Yesterday? Krupar pointed out that we can't keep calling ourselves the faction. Lord Zethix liked it, but said to get your opinion. Morgan shrugged. I'm not heavily involved, name yourself as you wish. She scowled, surprise flickering over his face. The part of her that was always analyzing information noted that he was at ease enough to not guard his emotions, and nodded happily. We swore an oath. You're one of its founding leaders. Like it or not, your opinion matters. He held up his hands. Apologies. What does it mean? Solidarity. She wiggled her hand. Unity. Unity. Morgan repeated softly. I like it. Mila grinned, the relief palpable. She didn't bother wondering if it came from him liking it, her task of telling him being done, or because Astra now owed her money. Let's not go the way of the Revanites, yes. No worshipping me, soft voice or anyone else as gods. She smirked, flicking through the lessons he had left her. No promises. Veta skipped after Greta, enjoying the inner turmoil that her new friend tried to hide. Annoying those that couldn't snap at her was a guilty pleasure, especially when they tried to cover it up. Greta wasn't doing a very good job of it. Morgan's armor was repairable, unfortunately. She had been looking forward to complaining how he couldn't go one day without destroying her gifts. Now she had to get her amusement some other way, but she had planned ahead. Greta, after helping her lug the armor to the quartermaster, who, in turn, had handed it over to some poor blacksmith, was going back to her quarters. Different ones than where they had first met Quinn. That had apparently just been an empty barracks. And due to her brilliant foresight, she could follow. It was hilarious watching the private try and come up with some excuse why she couldn't. She'd have left if her Vict friend had asked her to, of course. She wasn't that mean. But she hadn't, so here they were. Veta ignored the badly hidden scowl as they came to their destination, seeing Jillian surrounded by the rest of his squad. Greta sped up, leaving her behind at the door. Veta hung back, curious. Jillian's was talking softly, only Oras seeing her lurk in the doorway. She waved at him. He ignored her, turning back to the ensign. Then, I don't know, he showed me something. Like I could remember, but I knew it never happened to me, you know. Not really, mate. Another soldier, one she didn't know, clapped his shoulder. All sounds like Sith magic to me. Magic isn't real. Oras rebuffed calmly. But yes, it sounds like Sith magic. Never heard of one doing that, mind you. I thought you'd be getting flogged, not enjoying therapy. Greta grinned. All's forgiven, right? Jillian shrugged. The Sith didn't seem to care so much. The lieutenant probably does. Might be digging latrine pits for the next few months. Jeering faces exchanged money, chips flying around the room. Jillian scowled. Not nice to bet on my demise, you assholes. A pang of longing shot through Veta, remembering when she had a crew of her own. People to drink and laugh with. She shook her head, paying attention. Jillian's had turned serious. The shit I saw. A room filled with Sith, in training I guess, getting tortured. Death looming over every second, fighting and killing as they fought to be the best. To survive. How that Sith, and another one, biggest Deveronian I've ever seen, carved order from that chaos. The room had gone silent, jeering replaced with hesitation. Oras was the one to break the silence. I judge by actions, not words. Or memories. Whatever. Greta looked to the door, drawing attention to her. She smoothly ducked behind it, avoiding their gazes. So far his actions have been to help. Someone spat on the floor, earning him a shove. I saw how he led those droids away. Would have torn us apart in seconds, they would have. Did you see him, when he got out his armor? Covered in bruises. Shit looked black. You know how hard you'd have to get punched for it to turn black this quickly? No idea how he's even walking. Veta slunk away, not wishing to intrude on a private moment. Intrude any more than she already had, anyway. Now that her backup amusement plan had been foiled, however, she was aimless. So she decided she might as well take a nap, since Morgan was busy with civvy things. Marching to their room, blatantly ignoring she had a room of her own, she threw the door open, fully expecting it to be empty and ready to be proven wrong. It was empty. She slumped, walking inside and kicking the counter because it deserved it. Then she slumped on the couch, browsing the limited content available on the wartime holonet. Her nap didn't want to nap, so shitty entertainment was plan B. Or C, seeing as Greta had been plan B. Lazing about, are we? Should be ashamed of yourself. Veta jumped, pointing at him. Don't sneak up on me. Rude. Morgan shrugged. I'm fine with being rude. You up to anything? She looked between Morgan and the B-rated drama, halfway finished. Depends. I'm gonna build my new lightsaber, and I promised you could help. Veta made a show of reluctance, looking between him and the drama again. He waved his hand dismissively. I see cheap entertainment has gotten its claws in you. I shall simply construct this highly lethal, restricted weapon myself. Good day, madam. She scrambled off the couch, catching up to him in the hallway. Meanie. I'm fine with being mean too. Humming until they reached the private workshop, Morgan informing her soft voice had brought their stuff over from the ship, she looked questioningly at the array of parts. So this is supposed to make a lightsaber? Full disclosure, I tried when this stuff was still on the ship. Didn't work. She held up her hands defensively. Just checking it for bugs, like you asked. No. Morgan replied dryly. His lightsaber floated off his belt, disassembling itself in front of her eyes. She gawked at it, seeing Morgan smirk. You practiced that? She accused. I did. He admitted shamelessly. Took me like 4 hours to get it down. Still, looks damned impressive. Veta caught herself before she nodded, not wanting to give him the satisfaction. So all this stuff is supposed to make a lightsaber? Morgan sighed deeply, making her grin. Yes, all this stuff is supposed to make a lightsaber. Watch. A red crystal, the size of her thumb, floated in the middle, a lens joining it. A lightsaber has 5 main parts. She kept half an ear open as he lectured, watching intently. The crystal, made from kyber, is the main reason this device works the way it does. Kyber is attuned to the Force, and as such bonds to one wielder for life. The other parts, lens, casing and power cell, are all easy to acquire. The emitter, in which the focusing lens is placed, is harder to get. The casing twisted around the lens and emitter, concealing the crystal from sight. But not nearly so as kyber. Ilum is one of the few planets where they can be found, and the Jedi pilgrim there when they are young. Various wires, switches and resistors floated inside next, Morgan adding no comment about them. These crystals bond for life, yet the Sith do not journey to Ilum for them. Ancient lords found a way to process the crystals, allowing multiple bonds to occur. Morgan grinned softly, the lightsaber completing with a soft flick. But never when the wielder is still alive. I found this one in an ancient tomb, as you are aware. Veta nodded, making grabby hands. Morgan floated it over, to her surprise. Yeah. You needed little old me to steal it. She carefully grabbed it out of midair, pointing the weapon away from them. It ignited with a thrum, harsh red illuminating the room. She resisted the urge to swing it around wildly, swinging it slowly instead. Morgan took it as she handed it to him, making it float in the air. Nothing too complicated. Some make them from special materials. You can incorporate lights, special casings or even a blaster if you wish, but I prefer its purpose to be simple. Singular. Veta looked at him, and he seemed somber. Dangerous. Its purpose is to kill. Nothing more. She decided that was enough brooding, so she accidentally knocked the old casing to the ground. Morgan cringed, making her smirk. I get it, no more angst. Hand me that screw, please. She did, raising an eyebrow. He shrugged. Only had time to practice screwing it out, not in. It'll probably fall apart without it. Veta rolled her eyes, watching him attach the casing tightly with a mundane screwdriver. Kinda undercuts the whole dangerous Sith vibe you had going on. He nodded. And so I ignored it, planning to attach it later. But you just had to ruin the moment, didn't you? Revenge. She intoned seriously. For force bonding with some random soldier before me. Does our friendship mean nothing to you? Morgan turned to her, a dangerous glint in his eye. Oh? Would you prefer I feel your every emotion? Know your every thought and memory? To know you, whole and complete, as I rearrange your mind? Heat flooded her stomach as she blushed, taking a half step back. The room was dark, to add to his demonstration, she just now realized, so she was partly obscured. Her knees trembled a little as he took a step forward, and just for a moment she thought he was reaching for her throat. He snatched the lightsaber out of the air instead, a noise of protest almost escaping her. Almost. It was therapy. Nothing more, he teased, and she realized he had no idea what he'd just done. Well, at least we know he can play the part. Half her mind whispered. The other half was busy covering up the fact she had been about to sink to her knees. Sir? Quinn called from outside the room. Lord Barras is on the line for you. Veta cursed softly, seriously contemplating what it would take to kill Barras. Morgan turned to the door. Just in case he ever felt like interrupting her alone time with Morgan again, Morgan walked after Quinn, his new lightsaber secured to his belt. Veta was walking some ways behind him, muddled feelings whirling through her, and he had no idea what to do about it. He hadn't meant to scare her. That bit about rearranging her mind had been too much, he decided. It wasn't even true. The Force could confuse, yes. Induce memory loss, if the practitioner was skilled enough. What it couldn't do was change people. It wasn't mind control, no matter the old jokes about Jedi brainwashing. But now Quinn was here, so he couldn't exactly turn around and apologize. Why not, exactly? Morgan stopped, tilting his head. That was an excellent point. Quinn, go on ahead. I have something to discuss with Veta. My lord. Quinn acknowledged smoothly. The holocall is in Chamber 7F, 3rd level. Morgan nodded, thanked the man, and ushered Veta through the nearest door he could find. Best to have some privacy for this. A spike of alarm went through her, but Morgan couldn't quite figure out the cause. She had always been hard to read, and he never felt like pushing it. She had the right to her own emotions. He came up short when the door led to a fairly cramped closet, but by then Veta was already inside. Jesus, really making a mess of this. Morgan turned so he was looking at her, the limited space forcing them close. I wanted to apologize about the mind-rearranging dig. Sith can't do that. He tilted his head, considering. I can't do that. But since others need to get past your force freeze shield, such delicate work is made practically impossible anyway. Veta, for some reason, was looking rather breathless. It suddenly occurred to him he'd just dragged her into a closet without warning. Sorry about dragging you in here like this. A rush of disappointment went through her, Morgan not quite able to pinpoint where it came from. He resisted the urge to look deeper. By the goddess, boss. Here I thought we'd be doing something exciting. Morgan looked at her, confused. What could we possibly do in a closet? Veta mimed a bashful look and laughed, Morgan feeling like an idiot. Right. Ignoring that. I'm getting out of the closet. He heard her giggle as he yanked the door open, the urge to bang his head against the wall stronger than ever. Yes, very funny. Here I was trying to be reassuring. Don't feel bad. She cooed. You were very dapper. Like a shining knight. I'll never forgive you if soft voice starts calling me the dapper knight. Amusement was clear on her face as he spied at her. You really are just handing me all this blackmail, aren't you? What's a girl supposed to do with all this information? Keep it silent, as a personal favor to me? Veta snorted. Morgan frowned. All right, how about I don't pin you to the ceiling and leave you there for a while? Silence was his answer, and he didn't dare look back. That was a joke. Veta sounded disappointed. I know. But that's crazy. He reassured himself. You've made this weird, and now you're hearing things. Yes. Their walk was silent, Veta still walking behind him. Great. Now she didn't even want him to look at her. This was going swimmingly. Reprieve came as they arrived at the third floor, Quinn waiting for them. Veta skipped ahead, to his surprise, and poked Quinn in the shoulder. This better be important, soldier boy, we were busy. It damn well better be. Morgan privately agreed. I've sure made a fool of myself for it. I do not dare comment on the business of Sith. Quinn answered dryly. Lord Barras is waiting, sir. Morgan nodded, walking ahead as Veta started asking about Quinn's pistols, whatever that meant. Probably just want to look at his blaster, knowing her. Apprentice. Barras greeted, the door clicking shut behind him. Things are moving faster than anticipated, and my focus will be elsewhere for a time. Ryland's son has been taken care of, but not as cleanly as I wished. My asset on the planet left witnesses, the fool. Ryland has gone rogue, and with the success of your mission no evidence of betrayal remains. Morgan nodded calmly, his mind going 100 miles an hour. Things are moving out of order. Expected, but I hoped for more time. Rylan has his Republic allies convinced of his allegiance, and poisoned the ground in the process. He will have full support when you confront him, and the commander is no stranger to killing Jedi or Sith. Kill him, and report to me when it is finished. Barras loomed, oppressive attention invading the room. Morgan shivered. Fail me, and I'll make you beg for death. The hollow cut off, Morgan straightening. Death threats and intimidation had grown numb somewhere along the way, though he couldn't quite say when. His old overseer had more than adequately prepared him to pretend, however. Improvisation at its best. Now if only he could get it to work when he was with Veta. Speaking of, Quinn was likely in need of a rescue. To his surprise, something which had happened far too much today, they were quietly talking. They also pretended they hadn't been when he came close. Great. Lieutenant. Darth Barras has ordered the death of Commander Rylan, and has given me operational control. We will likely cooperate with Soft Voice, Zethix, to achieve this task. You and the men get some rest. Quinn saluted. Morgan nodded to the man, then walked off. Veta skipped after him, waving goodbye to Quinn. So what we up to? Come on, you must have noticed something. A glimpse at a girl's ass. Staring down cleavage. Anything. Veta encouraged. Quinn shuffled uncomfortably, looking at the door that the Sith had disappeared through. The Sith they were, to his great, visible discomfort, gossiping about. Veta almost rolled her eyes. Not like Morgan could hear them. I really don't think I'm the best person to ask. You're the only one that has spent any time with him, other than his Sith posse. I'm not about to ask them. Quinn sighed, looking at the door again. Off the record, and you best hope this whole conversation stays that way, I've not. I cannot express how little a Sith's sexual orientation is my business. Nor would I wish it to be, should it ever come up. He looked at her pointedly, making her huff. Fine, fine. It's weird though. I've never seen him check someone out. Not one glimpse at someone's ass, men or women. No lingering looks. Nothing. Well, besides the once. But I'm starting to think that was out of surprise, nothing more. Quinn shrugged. He is a fleshcrafter, yes? They are rumored to have great control over their bodies, and I see no reason this should not include hormones. Veta nodded thoughtfully. That makes sense. Or wait, no, it doesn't, because why would he suppress his hormones? The lieutenant looked at her, raising an eyebrow. Why the interest? Why do you know the capabilities of a fleshcrafter? She shot back. Both questions we'd rather not answer, yes? Quinn stiffened, nodding. The door opened just as he was about to say something, Morgan striding out. Lieutenant. Barras has ordered the death of Commander Rylan, and has given me operational control. We will likely cooperate with Soft Voice, Zethix, to achieve this task. You and the men get some rest. Veta rolled her eyes at the nickname, then strode after him as he walked off, waving to Quinn. So what we up to? He didn't answer, and a surprisingly strong surge of guilt hit her. We didn't mean anything with the gossip, really. It's just... What gossip? Morgan turned to her, a smirk on his lips. You mean when you both fell silent the moment I came close? Not suspicious behavior at all, rest assured. Completely normal. Veta grinned, the guilt evaporating as fast as it came. So you didn't hear, then? About the surprise party? Of course not. She snorted. Good guess, but no. You want to know? I'll tell you, if you really want to. Morgan rounded a corner, two soldiers snapping to attention. She ignored them, Morgan waving them off. If I don't, will it impact me negatively? Veta frowned, considering. Nope. More my problem than yours. Then keep your secrets. Let me know if I can help. They fell silent, Morgan getting that far-off look in his eye when his attention was elsewhere. He masked it well, but not well enough for her not to notice. I know how he could help. Her thoughts whispered. I know just what he could do. Hush. She whispered back sternly. No scaring off the Sith with our less-than-vanilla outlook on life. They found Soft Voice many stairs later, lording over an enclosed courtyard. It was filled with sparring Sith, instructors stalking among them. Veta watched as two plainly dressed Sith hacked into each other with barely restrained fury, another Sith hurrying over. So this is what you came for. Soft Voice greeted. Blowing up towers and running from droids. We'd never have coped without you. Morgan scoffed, looking down as the instructor forced the quarreling Sith to meditate. You know me, I try to confound wherever I go. Fair warning on those droids though. Anyone but you, tell them to run. Soft Voice inclined his head, nodding to her. Pleasure to see you again. So, since I'd never get a straight answer out of Mad Mouse, is he keeping out of trouble? Yup. She replied. Just some light exercise of near-death, resurrecting a possibly extinct Force discipline and inspiring fanatical loyalty in his soldiers. The usual, that was therapy. Morgan muttered, looking over as the two Sith, supposedly meditating, were inching to their weapons again. You too. The whole courtyard froze as her boss's attention came down on it, the instructors bowing smoothly. The new recruits froze, looking uncertain. You had one warning already. If you want to fight, you'll get a fight. Veta watched as he vaulted the railing, landing lightly. A practice saber came flying to his hand, the instructors grinning as they ushered the remaining Sith to the side. Who are you? The rightmost acolyte, a pureblood, demanded. The one on the left looked just as indignant, but held her peace. Morgan nodded thoughtfully. I'm the man that just told 30 Sith to take a break as I talk to you. He looked at the left Sith expectantly. The woman broke her silence, looking over his shoulder. Inara Baker. The pureblood glared at her, then straightened. Alyssa Gray. Gray Foundries. He nodded, looking past their flesh. They shuffled uncomfortably as he broke their shields with a flex of will, waving his hand to an instructor. A Trandoshan stepped forward, rows of teeth visible as he smirked. Lord Morgan, founding leader of Enosis. Friend to Lord Zethix, apprentice to Darth Barras. Survivor of the culling. The Fleshcrafter Lord. Veta's ear twitched at the last title, not having heard it before. She looked at Zethix, curious. You're just gonna let him do whatever? I thought this lot was yours? The two quarrelsome Sith looked much less certain as her boss walked close, saber held loosely in hand. Soft voice huffed a laugh. These are as much his Sith as mine. It was before your time, I know, but we once trained them together. Led them together. Anger is power. So the dark promises. Emotion is strength. So the Sith preach. I am not angry. I feel nothing for either of you. Come, see if the dark keeps its promises. Veta shrugged, watching as the two Sith visibly hesitated before attacking. She snorted at their teamwork. Those two are gonna wish they'd kept their mouths shut, especially with coordination that poor. It's been just me and him for most of it, true. Quinn and his squad have been assigned to us, but that looks to be temporary. Soft voice picked up his datapad as it chimed, typing a reply before answering. Ah yes, the lieutenant. Most of his file has been redacted on personal orders of a Moff. Made me curious, and Mad Mouse can be too trusting sometimes. Her boss smacked Alyssa over the head like an errant child as she stumbled, making her snort. Can he? Good to know. Haven't got the notion Quinn is untrustworthy, not so far. Anything interesting in his file? Zethix waved his hand. Rising star. Disobeyed a direct order, resulting in Imperial victory. The Moff took credit for it while destroying Quinn's career. You can fill in the blanks yourself. No idea how he managed to stay in the military, not with how angry the Moff seemed when we inquired about the event, but sometimes she wishes to give her most promising members a second chance. The two Sith below were on the ground, looking up through bloodied faces. Morgan loomed over them, every inch the warrior. Now, did the anger help you? Did your emotions give you strength? The two looked away, wrath still in their eyes. Morgan sighed. Oh well. Be sure to keep it up. The Empire has no shortage of short-fused, suicidal Sith. What will two more matter? Bastra, what is the average life expectancy of those kinds of Sith again? The instructor stepped forth, glaring at the two recruits. Couple weeks. Usually fall to infighting. Or they step on landmines, get smeared on the ground by artillery, those sorts of things. Morgan bent down, looking the kneeling Sith eye to eye. Korriban has taught you strength through anger. Power through arrogance. It is fleeting. An illusion. You've been recruited for a reason. Because someone saw potential in you. I don't. He turned to the Trandoshan, straightening. 1 week. If they don't shape up, kill them. The two Sith stiffened, Bastra smiling as he bowed. As you say, my lord. Back to work. You too, with me. You've got until I run out of patience to show me why we should keep wasting oxygen on you. Veta waved lazily as Morgan joined them again, jumping 10 feet like taking a step. Sorry about that. Got the old teaching itch. Soft voice waved dismissively, pouring a drink and handing it to him. They'll learn. It's good they're getting to see some of you. Get a face to go with the legend. Morgan snorted, turning to her. All lies, I assure you. I know. She took a sip, warm wine pleasant on her tongue. The truth is so much more terrifying. Bit harsh to kill them, though. Morgan shrugged. They're weapons of mass destruction, and I'm treating them as such. If they don't learn control, they have no place here, and I will not let them loose on the galaxy. I just focused their priorities, that's all. He sat, taking a gulp of his drink. He relaxed, raising the glass to Zethix. Good stuff. I think. Uncultured. The Deveronian sniffed. Barbarian. Waste of good wine. Morgan snorted, turning serious. Barras cut me free. I'm to kill Commander Rylan as I see fit, reporting when it's done. As far as I know, he's holed up in the Balmoran Arms factory, imparting his knowledge and experience on the Resistance. You heard right. Acts as an advisor and second to Cheketa, the man in charge. Cheketa is a former Grand Marshal of the Republic, and likely to resume that role the second he steps off this planet. Rylan is Special Forces, and has killed a fair share of Sith. Mostly ambushes and traps, as those seem to be his specialty. Soft voice tipped his glass. You also have very good timing. Darth Lacris has put me in charge of assaulting the factory, and you're more than welcome to tag along. Morgan frowned. Well, I'm no good at leading large assaults. You have anything that'll get me close to him? Some objective you need destroyed, preferably, as cover. Also, we need to discuss those droids. Veta raised some good ideas, but we'll need your help. She sat back and sipped her wine as they organized the death of the rebellion, wondering when she had gone from begging on the streets to sitting in on planet-spanning operations. Veta shrugged. Oh well. At least the wine is good. As the sun set on the domed city, Morgan found himself walking alone. Veta had gone off to do whatever she did when he wasn't with her, and Quinn was doing performance reviews. Veta had shared a picture of the squad's faces when it was announced, boredom etched into their eyes but standing at ramrod attention. He'd chuckled, it had answered part of the question of what she was up to, and now he was taking a stroll. No obligations. The planning, insofar as it concerned both of them, was over. Just a simple, relaxing walk through some of the nicer parts of the city. Without armor, and his lightsaber tucked away discreetly, he drew no attention. Sobrik was a military city, true, but the residential districts still took nearly 7/10 of available space. A city needed more than just soldiers. Cooks, laborers, housing for family. An endless list of professions outside military life. And those people needed to relax too, leading to shops and cantinas. Theaters and arcades. It was walking past a long line of admittedly cute cafes and bakeries that he spotted him. Morgan sighed, admitted he was bored anyway, and ambled over. The man didn't look up from his datapad as he sat down, a tired but happy-looking man bringing over some pastries and tea. I've not spent much time in cafes lately, but isn't it usual to get your food after having ordered? The old man reclined, setting down his datapad and taking a pastry. I ordered for both of us. Good to see you again, Morgan. And you, strange old man I've only met once before. The man laughed, looking pointedly at the plate of food. Morgan took one, finding it to be filled with a sort of jelly. John. And as you might have surmised, our first meeting was not incidental. Nor this one, for that matter. Morgan took a sip, found it matched his tastes exactly, and sighed. Imperial intelligence. You either really suck at your job or you need something. Very good. John praised happily. Cypher 4, at your service. Well, not really. You know how it is. I prefer John. I assume the attendant you saved on Dromund Cars was one of yours, then? John nibbled on another pastry, shrugging. A coincidence, believe it or not. It happened about an hour after getting this assignment, so I improvised. And how have you been finding your mission? The man scowled, tapping his datapad. Boring. And surprisingly difficult. No offense, not that I'm telling you what to feel, but you're not exactly subtle. That Twi'lek of yours, on the other hand, has some serious potential. Not to mention that gaggle of Sith that seem to worship the ground you walk on. I've the feeling Zethix would have a stern word with me, should he ever find out I'm tailing you. Like you don't know the names of everyone I talk to. Morgan rolled his eyes. And I have been very clear on the whole worship thing. John smiled, happy again. Indeed. Quite the conundrum you are. So there I was, busting my ass trying to find some way into the wing that Zethix has confiscated and reinforced, when I thought, why not ask? That Morgan seems like a reasonable fellow. The man leaned forward eagerly, tapping his datapad again. So, anything to report? Morgan snorted. How about a question for a question? You can tell when I'm lying through decades of experience, while I can read your mind. Seems fair, no? A flicker, short and quickly buried, went through the man. Fear, uncertainty. John laughed. Is it bad that I'm enjoying this? It's been a while since my life has been interesting. Very well, after you. Morgan considered, then shrugged and went for the obvious. Did Barra send you to spy on me? John inclined his head, mirth dancing in the man's eyes. No. This is Imperial intelligence taking an interest. Reassuring, right? He leaned forward, cupping his chin. Are you fucking Veta? Morgan blinked at the non sequitur. Nope. Sleeping with those you work with doesn't end well. John blinked. Huh. Well, even I can be wrong on occasion. Your turn. Why did you set this meeting? Or late dinner? Whatever this is. I'm bored. I also think more can be gained by talking, rather than Veta shooting me when she eventually spots me. Like I said, she has good instincts. Morgan waved, feeling John's attention sharpen. What are your plans for Imperial intelligence, should you sit on the Dark Council? My, quite the faith you have in me. John looked at him without blinking, carefully relaxed. Fine. I have no plans for Imperial intelligence, nor have I thought much about wielding that much power. The man scowled playfully. The first lie of the evening. Here we'd been doing so well. Morgan shrugged. Fair. I thought about wielding that sort of power, but I truly have no designs for Imperial intelligence. He waited for John to nod, then took a gamble. What do you know about Commander Rylan, and how would you go about killing him? John shrugged. Not much more than you, I imagine. He's old, and that makes him cautious. Doesn't go anywhere without his security, and even then rarely leaves the Balmoran Arms factory. His resources stretch far, and it's estimated he's responsible for well over 50,000 dead Imperial troops since arriving on Balmora. Not to mention the assassination attempts he's survived. Play to your strengths, not his weaknesses. He doesn't have any. Morgan nodded, filing that away. The old man stretched, paying the server with a few taps on his datapad. Last one. I'll even give it to you for free, since you've been a good sport. Attention settled on the old man, making him stiffen. Morgan leaned forward, smiling kindly. It's not a question, but please don't take it as a threat either. I like you, John Doe, and I like your candor. Endanger the people working for me, or my mission, and those Sith that worship me. They'll hound you, tear you apart and bring your bones to me as presents. Morgan nodded, satisfied. Enjoy your evening, Cypher 4. I look forward to our next talk. Veta hid behind a large outcropping of stone, watching as Morgan and the rest of the men advanced. She could feel Greta next to her, hear her quiet breathing and subtle shuffling. The ground was not a pleasant one to lay on, Veta watching through her scope as everyone got into position. They had been, well, ordered would be the wrong word. Soft voice had suggested they could take out the redundant generators for the Balmoran Arms factory, third in line. Its main and secondary generators were deep within the factory itself, as they should be, but disabling their tertiary backups would, she had been assured, make their job easier. Oh yes, so very easy. She snarked to herself. Simply sneak into the factory, avoid all guards, security and traps, then blow the shield generators to bits so the main assault doesn't heroically die trying to force past them. Simplicity itself. To distract herself from the current phase of the plan, which for her meant hurry up and wait, she trained her scope on Morgan. She'd been feeling rather spicy since yesterday's unintended teasing, and looking at him didn't help much. Armored and armed, looking fierce in a calm, collected way. Like assaulting a fixed position with less than 10 men didn't bother him at all. A rock dug into her thigh, the pain not helping to calm her down. If only he wasn't so dense. She groused. Maybe I should tie myself up, set up a use me sign and wait in the room. Veta shook her head. Too forward. Far too likely to scare him off. She watched as Morgan jumped from a rock, plummeting over 60 feet and crushing the machine gun he landed on. The soldier manning it didn't fare much better, but Veta was already looking away. Quinn and his men opened fire from their elevated position, only one guard having protected the ridge that snaked along the facility. Their intelligence predicted anonymity was their greatest protection, and she was starting to think they might have been right for once. A soldier, dressed properly for war, started shouting and waving his arms. She couldn't hear what the fool was shouting, but he stopped after she evaporated his torso. Using her anti-material sniper for this was overkill, but the effects on morale were immediate. Some bolted immediately, scrambling for the hills. It was the veterans she was after, the ones that knew how important this place was. If the armed civilians wanted to run, she was happy to leave them to it. There. Someone, behind proper cover but not accounting for her position, was pulling grenades. She waited until he pressed the shiny button, then took his head. The explosive dropped, blowing two others apart and wrecking their cover. A woman, one of a species she had only rarely seen, was frantically calling into a radio. She destroyed it, and the woman, with a light squeeze of her finger. Maybe something less risky. The bending hasn't been doing too much, but how about dancing? I could have a long-standing, cultural passion about dancing. He wouldn't know, would he? Yes, that could work. Morgan pointed to the door, Gillen's rushing forward to plant the blasting charges. She reflected that he hadn't meant for that to look so dramatic. Just as he hadn't meant to rile her up and then do nothing about it. Infuriating man. Patience. She chanted. Patience is key. There's no time limit. Everything promptly went to shit, like the universe itself was loudly disagreeing, and smoke obscured her sight. Quinn's soldiers came running out soon after, Gillen's being dragged by Horace. All personnel is to retreat until further notice. Sith killer droids have been sighted, so stick to the plan. Lord Morgan will lead them away, after which we will secure the objective. Quinn's voice was calm and clear, Veta feeling her heartbeat skyrocket. Those things had nearly killed him last time. They planned for them, true, but part of her had still thought it wouldn't happen. Her boss jumped out of the smoke, 4 of the things jumping after him. She spared an idle thought of where the rest of them were, but focused. One pointed a blaster, Morgan spinning wildly as he was blown away. Veta cursed, taking aim and smashing the offending droid against stone. It got up within the second. Slug throwers. Fuck. Don't like it when they learn. Morgan twisted and landed, scrambling back as 4 small devices flew out of the pouch around his waist. The droids didn't even attempt to dodge, bounding after him. She cursed as the high-grade EMPs did nothing, but they had planned for that too. Veta watched as the devices detached themselves again, all 4 flying over to a single droid. She shook her head at the control that must have taken, seeing as he was dodging 4 Beskar swords at the same time. That time the droid stuttered and slowed, and Morgan's voice finally came over the comm. EMP overloading is a go. Veta, they're all yours. Greta wordlessly handed her the pouch of special ammunition, Veta unloading her rifle with quick, sure movements. The new stuff went in, slowing her breathing as she aimed. Her finger hovered over the trigger as Morgan danced around the droids, until one, the slowed one, froze entirely. Just for a second. Just long enough to let her aim. They had theorized that coating that many droids in Beskar meant they hadn't skimped on the electronics, and she was proven right as it started to move again. Veta breathed out as her finger twitched the trigger, the priceless round shooting forward at twice the speed of sound. Its torso bent inwards as the Beskar round violently tore apart its core components, the droid finally collapsing. The other droids jerked awkwardly, as if pulled by an invisible string, before turning to retreat. She heard Morgan laugh as the 4 EMPs, still attached at the neck of the fallen droid, flew after them. Veta had just loaded another of her 4 remaining rounds as one of the retreating droids stumbled, its electronics stuttering. She blew open its side, muttering curses as it managed to turn a sure kill into a shallow wound. Morgan was there in a flash, his lightsaber stabbing into the broken armor. The droid collapsed entirely, and Veta grinned as the adrenaline hit her. They had done some rough calculations on how expensive one of those things were. Even on a factory world, even with the resources of the Republic, coating that much Beskar onto droids was ruinous. Worth the cost to kill Sith, undoubtedly. But losing them? Vetta's grin turned into a smirk as she imagined the sheer panic of whoever was controlling them, having lost hundreds of millions in minutes. Then she carefully repacked the remaining 3 rounds, representing all available Beskar in Imperial hands on Balmorra. She had no idea how Zethix had managed to get his hands on it, even her contacts in the underworld scoffing when she had inquired. Still, her plan had worked like a charm. Warm affection spread through her as it hit that Morgan had not only listened to her, but had put his full weight behind it. That he had trusted her, his life, to her plan. Her high turned to low dread as Morgan jerked, his lightsaber coming into a block. Dull brown robes fluttered as 2 Jedi moved as one, Morgan scrambling to clear space. She rapidly loaded her standard ammunition, feeling her focus sharpen. Jedi, unlike those droids, were not lightsaber resistant. Indeed, her fear seemed to be unfounded. Morgan's knife keened through the air, one Jedi falling to the ground soundlessly. Vetta took careful aim at the other, the cursed woman nimbly dancing out of the way. Was that a Padawan? Her boss asked incredulously. Judging by the glare on the Jedi's face, he was talking to her, not Vetta. You took a Padawan to an active war zone? The dark shall fail you, Sith. The Jedi shot back, a rock the size of her head flying at Morgan. Her boss dodged, his 2 knives calmly floating over his shoulder. Probably, he agreed. The Jedi frowned, Vetta easily able to see the anger in her eyes. Not as much as you failed him, however. The stranger snarled, jumping forward. As much as her face screamed rage, her technique was smooth. Vetta didn't know much about lightsaber combat, but she did know Morgan. Knew he was being cautious for a reason. Oras took that moment to fire a rocket launcher, both Force users jumping back. The Jedi looked at her fallen Padawan, scooped him up and fled. Morgan waved off a pursuit, turning to Quinn instead. Enough fighting for today. Is it done? The lieutenant saluted. Sir. The objective is destroyed. Very good. Take those 2 droids to Soft Voice. I don't doubt they're worth their weight in gold. Vetta tilted her head at the odd expression, shrugging. So, it seemed my plan worked. Her boss turned to her, a grin in his voice. So it did. We'll have to see about getting you some more Beskar rounds, just in case. Don't tell the Mandalorians, they get weird about people turning that stuff into weapons. Morgan stretched beside Soft Voice, looking over the convoy through his scope. This seems a bit overkill. The whole of the Enosis were behind them, new recruits mingling in squads of 5 as the veterans paired up. Mirla was double-checking something on her datapad, Krupar beside her. Astra was to the right of him, looking over the assembled recruits sternly. You will be graded based on your performance. Stick to your squads, stick to your objectives. Any deviation born from bloodlust, anger or fear is an automatic fail. I will know. Because they need the test. This convoy also carries vital supplies for the resistance, and its guards are hardened Republic troops. They'll make for a good challenge. Morgan rolled his eyes, wondering if Vetta was having fun with Quinn. Probably. She was vague, but it seemed to involve tracking down the people that had made her special bullets. He smiled at the thought of Vetta busting down doors, demanding more Beskar bullets as Quinn's men looked on in exasperation. Showtime. Soft Voice ordered. Morgan flexed, then jumped. His friend was close behind, the rest of the 30-odd Sith following eagerly. The convoy saw them, of course. Hard to keep this many Sith hidden, even if they had felt like it. This wasn't a stealth mission. This was an exam masquerading as a wartime operation, overwhelming force to crush whomever was in their path. The truck stopped, its soldiers opening fire. Morgan shook his head as it was deflected or returned, then focused as they brought out the big guns. The 2 tanks aimed and fired without preamble, the Sith spreading out immediately. Morgan kept half an eye on them, noting with satisfaction they had dodged properly. The tanks got off 2 more shots before they were too close, the troopers smoothly setting lines of fire. Nearly half of them threw grenades, 4 of them taking out flamethrowers. Morgan took control of 6 of the small, explosive objects, sending them back. The Enosa's veterans either deflected or returned the rest, spreading destruction among the ranks. The flame troopers were taken care of by Soft Voice, the Deveronian strangling them with a raised hand. He scoffed, his knives finding flesh as they broke through the lines. I try that and they'll have the unforgettable experience of a hand gently holding their throats, never mind lifting them into the air. Morgan spared a second's attention to the drones recording every second of this fight. Mirla and Soft Voice would be spending the rest of the day grading, no doubt. The Sith spread around him, the estimated 400 Republic troops disintegrating as he watched. The new recruits were tearing into hastily prepared positions with vigor, one squad managing to topple a tank. Their counterpart, the group that had the other armored vehicle as their objective, had gone the more practical route. 2 Sith sheared off the barrel with little issue, the other 3 forcing the hatch open. Screaming reached his ears as they dropped grenades, forcing the hatch closed again. They backed off immediately, turning to their secondary mission. Mirla's voice drifted over, Morgan listening as his knives danced. Well, their training seems to be holding. It's only been 2 weeks? Look at them, all grown up. Astra scoffed, turning to her and glaring at Alyssa and Inara. Those 2 had their eyes opened by Lord Morgan himself. If they hadn't shaped up they'd be dead by now. He ignored their banter, turning to the 2 former problematic Sith. Their hate had transformed into a flirty rivalry, gloating as they fought. Morgan shook his head, turning to Soft Voice. Good thing we don't forbid relationships. We'd have to kick those 2 out, for starters. His friend dropped the stone he'd been levitating, 20 heavy troopers screaming as they died under 100 tons of rock. That we would. Astra apparently caught them, promptly starting a lecture on proper sex etiquette. They haven't stopped, from what I heard. Morgan snorted, but put Inara and Alyssa out of his mind. He turned back to the fight, his knives orbiting his shoulders. Or not, he mumbled. The last of the troopers were running, eager Sith hounding after them. The convoy was a smoking ruin, yet all trucks were untouched. Krapar was already directing squads to sort through it all, taking what valuables they could. Running out of money? Soft Voice looked around, spotting the active looting. Not really. Those 2 droids you delivered will keep us operational for a long while, never mind our regular funding. Be a waste to just burn all this stuff, though. Morgan shrugged, finding the 2 lovebirds walking over. Astra was behind them, looming as she prodded them forward. My lord. Alyssa began, bowing awkwardly. I am grateful for the opportunity and lesson. I will not disappoint you. Inara nodded empathetically, tearing her gaze from Alyssa's bloody face. So am I. Astra snorted, slapping Inara over the head. The woman looked abashed, bowing. My lord. Morgan waved his hand, the 2 fluttering around each other as they got back to work. Astra looked on, exasperated. Well, the training worked. They stopped trying to kill each other. Not entirely sure sneaking off every other minute to go fuck in a closet is much better, mind you, but their teamwork improved. Soft Voice huffed, pulling the stone off the soldiers and freeing the gore underneath. He explained when Astra looked at him questioningly. We need this road more than the rebellion does. Keep those 2 in line. No shirking their duty to have some fun. Astra nodded, turning to stalk over to a recruit cutting off ears. What have I told you about trophies? Give. The return to base was done in high spirits, trucks manned by Sith passing though the last checkpoint. Morgan grinned at the look on the guards' faces, his mirth dying as they came to the docking bay. 3 Sith were waiting for them, each feeling as powerful as Soft Voice. The center one stepped forward, scowling deeply. Are you children done playing? Mirla held up her hand, the squads behind her halting. Soft Voice walked forward, Morgan and Krapar joining him. He focused, feeling his scan rebuffed. Similar exchanges happened between them all, no clear winner emerging. Soft voice broke the silence. Step aside. I am the apprentice to Darth Lacris. Their spokesperson sneered. I will not be ordered around by some military pup. Morgan frowned, recalling the report on the governor of Balmorra as Krapar shifted. Ah, Leric. Spare us the dick measuring and fuck off. We both know your master forbade infighting on the planet. Leric smiled broadly, nodding. Indeed she did. But to be more specific, she forbid Sith from infighting. She made no mention of, say, pretty little Twi'lek. Morgan stilled as Leric leered, Krapar tensing beside him. Soft voice hummed. She is under the protection of the Enosis. Harm her at your own peril. Harm her? Leric put a hand to his chest, appearing shocked. I would never. If she came to me, however, begging for some proper Sith protection? Well, far be it for me to deny her when she comes crawling. Morgan stepped forward slowly, Leric smiling at him. Tut tut. You said it yourself. No fighting between Sith. Morgan put his hand on his shoulder, ever so slowly. Leric appeared the picture of confidence, looking at the hand disdainfully. When Morgan invaded the flesh, only the organs protected by his shield, Leric's sneer died. When the Force screamed at him to move, Leric remained frozen. His two companions hesitated as Soft Voice and Krapar mirrored them, Leric screaming silently. Morgan let his hand go, the Sith falling bonelessly to the floor. It never ceases to amaze, Krapar told the two remaining apprentices quietly. How much Sith judge solely on raw power? Now fuck off. The two looked around, saw 30 tensing Sith, and decided this hadn't gone quite to plan. We'll answer for that. Soft Voice sighed as the two Sith had left, waving at Mila. The truck got moving again, docking so their load could be admitted into inventory. Soldiers joined them, saluting before Mila. He wasn't wrong when he said Darth Lacris forbade infighting on the planet. That wasn't a fight. Morgan noted, releasing the hot flash of anger in his stomach. I'll take responsibility, of course. Morgan repeated the same thing 30 minutes later, standing with Soft Voice in front of Darth Lacris. The governor snorted. Well, all is solved. My apprentice is not blind, deaf and mute. My rules weren't broken and the war effort hasn't been damaged. Hooray! The Darth narrowed her eyes, glaring at Morgan. Come on, out with it. You've prepared some clever defense. You forbade fighting, my lady. I did not fight him. Lacris's scowl broke, laughing openly. Ah yes, the fleshcrafter. His shield should still have stopped you. No offense, my lady, but not necessarily. Shields protect the soul, and most include vital organs and such. It stops others from wrangling you, true. What it does not do, or what he did not do, is protect everything. His control was not able to dislodge mine, and disrupting sight, speech and hearing was not difficult when terror broke his concentration. The Darth held up 3 fingers. Firstly, the protections that you speak of have not been needed for some time, and even then are not expected from apprentices. Secondly, disrupting the 3 pillars of interacting with the world makes my apprentice worthless, and so he serves me no longer. Come. Both Morgan and Soft Voice followed as they stepped into a turbolift, descending deep into the earth. Soft Voice spoke as the doors opened again, revealing a spacious training room. What was the third thing? Lacris walked inside. That you two have just become interesting. You and your Enosis both. Leric was meditating in the center of the room, milky white eyes looking their way as they entered. Lacris scoffed, motioning to him. It would take months for him to see with the Force, assuming he learns at all. Kill that waste of space. Morgan raised an eyebrow, his knives sailing across the room. Leric dodged, something he found reluctantly impressive, only to miss the second. It came out clean on the other side, tearing through the heart. Despite his recent showing, Leric was not a bad apprentice. Your equal, had he not succumbed to arrogance. Relying on my decree was foolish. Letting you touch him was foolish. Foolishness is fatal, as we have just seen. Lacris summoned a practice saber, shoving aside Lyric at the same time. The corpse smacked against the wall, Morgan calling a saber to his hand after raising an eyebrow. Soft Voice walked over, picking one up manually. Not because he couldn't summon one, Morgan knew. His friend preferred not solving every little problem with the Force. Try not to cry. I need to work out some frustrations. Morgan backpedaled as his friend countercharged, finding his strength not equal to the task. Morgan focused on her shields as Soft Voice bought him time. They seemed like bulwarks. Immovable walls of power without the slightest flaw or mistake. Morgan shook his head and focused on the fight, his friend flying through the room. Then the Darth was on him, a fury of blows batting aside his defenses and dislocating his shoulder in seconds. Pain flared equal with awe, thousands of small probes and attacks wrapping around his shield. It held for a moment. The Darth flared her connection, cracking his shield and sending him flying next to Soft Voice. Both stood, exchanging a look. Morgan found humor and excitement reflected in his friend's eyes, shaking his head. Come on, give me a proper fight. Lacris tilted her head, holding out her training saber. Or are you tired already? The Darth's taunt slid off him like water, sending his own power to attack her shield. Lacris laughed, not deigning to waste attention on his attack as she charged. She was right not to, Morgan had to admit. The dome of blinding power was showing no reaction to any of his attack, and he had to rapidly break the connection as he felt something assimilate his power. This time Morgan and Soft Voice attacked together. He went low while his friend went high, forcing the Darth into an unfavorable position. She solved it by blocking Soft Voice's strike and kicking Morgan away like an errant rat, impacting the wall with a thud. He grunted and climbed on his feet. It's gonna be one of those training sessions, then. Several hours of instruction later found Morgan and Soft Voice sitting on the roof of the administration building, Morgan just finishing up the fracture in his friend's hip. Kicking you like that was petty. His friend snorted, taking a whole ham and tearing out a large bite. Perhaps. No doubt payback for that drop of blood that almost flew in her eyes. Morgan scoffed. The closest we came to touching her, so I'll count it as a win. Soft Voice looked at him, handing over the ham. Did you think we'd beat her? She is a Darth. They don't hand that title to just anyone. No, of course not. I'd thought we'd managed to touch her, at least. Something more than serving as punching bags. Ha! Like you didn't steal every secret you managed to get your hands on. Morgan looked over the city, emptying a canteen of water over his blood-covered face. Not as many as I'd like. Didn't get past her shield, naturally, and I didn't manage to figure out how it works. Like looking at a wall. It's made of stone. Brilliant deduction. Soft Voice cleaned one of his horns, looking at him. You can learn a lot from looking at a wall. What kind of stone is it made of? What mortar did they use, and how thick are the bricks? I know. I used to be able to copy it wholesale. It's what I did on Drome and Kars. Took me 3 months of daily exposure, but I did it. Not that Lady Trix ever came close to Lacris. Boo-hoo. Welcome to the real world, where things aren't just handed to you. Fuck off. I managed to get some ideas for improvements, just so you know. Later. Don't have the energy right now. Morgan hummed, looking over the city and feeling some measure of strength returning to his limbs. He shook his head. The healing aspect of flesh grafting was quickly becoming his favorite, no matter how useful extra strength was. Why'd you get so angry at Lyric? Soft Voice probed some minutes later. It's probably the most wrathful I've seen you, come to think. He snorted at the unintentional pun, looking away. It wasn't what he said. Cliché and badly delivered. 5 out of 10. It was, I don't know. The implication. Soft Voice stayed silent as Morgan scowled. You have the Anosis, and I still can't believe you pawned Mela off to me for that dick move, to keep you company. Barras is pulling me around the galaxy at will, so it's not like Balmorra will become the norm. Soon enough I'm off to another system, killing another spy. You have to clean up here, then Ma will send you to another war zone. He shrugged, pointing at him with the ham. Since I picked up Veta on Korriban, she'd been there, you know. Someone to treat me like a person. I don't want to go at it alone again. To one day find out I can't take off the Sith mask. His friend hummed. I don't think that one is leaving anytime soon. She was a terror before she ever met you, long before you turned her into a super soldier. Morgan shrugged. Had her slavery status scrapped this morning, so she can. Turns out the sphere of production and logistics has precedent for that sort of thing. They didn't like it much, but she's free. Soft voice hummed again. She'll be glad to hear it. Still, don't go turning everyone who insults or threatens Veta into vegetables. You'll get a reputation. No promises.